Yes, welcome everyone here to the Smash Evening Show right here on Smash FM here on our 10th year of the station. And of course, let's turn our attention to music in particular on this Friday morning. And of course, we'll head over to my favorite city in the US. Of course, that is Nashville in Tennessee. Of course, the music city, which is musically known. And of course, we've got a very special guest on the show. Of course, her name's Tracie Lynn. She joins us right now from the Music City. Thanks, Tracie, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you, Will, so much for having me.
No worries. Well, tell us a bit about how it's been like so far this year in music for yourself.
Well, the music, I moved to Nashville a little bit over a year ago. So not this past January, but January 2020. And it's been hard, obviously, with the given, but honestly, I've accomplished way more than I thought I was going to in the music industry. That I hit well over 1 million different streams. I ended up signing a management deal. One of my songs, Good Kind of Crazy, hit #1 not once, but twice on Radio Disney Country. So, you know, I'm happy of where I am, and I'm super excited to see what this next year holds.
You mentioned about how difficult it has been, and obviously it's been pretty difficult for the city itself, which we'll talk a bit about that in just a moment. But I guess making the move into the Music City, I guess, was it an easy decision to make?
No, so that's actually a great question. One of the questions I get multiple times I've gotten it is like, what was one of the hardest things you've accomplished like through your career? And it is making that initial move to Nashville to pursue, not even to pursue, really just to take the next step in my career, because I moved from Virginia to Nashville. And in Virginia, I was performing there as well. I've been heavily involved in music since I was a very, very tiny girl, very young. I want to say I started performing and singing on stage around the age of 6, give or take. But I needed, and I knew I wanted to take my career to that next level. So moving to Nashville was what I needed to do. And I'll say, I think the root of why it was so hard is because there's absolutely zero guarantee at all. Like, there's no guarantee. You have to basically pick up your life and step so far completely out of your comfort zone, not like one arm, one leg, like your whole body. Step out of your comfort zone, and then don't expect to get your comfort zone back for years. And to anybody that's listening, really, if there's a specific dream that you're going for, or goal or achievement, whatever it may be, regardless of your career path, don't wait for the right time. There's never going to be a right time. Whether that's mentally, financially, whatever it may be, just go for it. That's what I did, and it's gotten me to where I am, and I'm honestly the happiest I've ever been in my life, and the most stressed, but you know, it's good stress.
Now, what are you currently working on so far? Are you got any new releases coming out very soon?
I do. It's $1 million question. I do. It's either going to come out on the 18th or the 19th, and you'll be the first to know the name of it. It's called Sorry I Couldn't Love You. I haven't announced it publicly at all on any social media, so Here we go. You know about it. It's definitely a ballad. It's a slower song. Lots of emotion went into it. You can hear it even when listening to the song. You just listen to it and you can immediately relate to it. So I'm super excited about that. But yeah, it'll either be out on the 18th or the 19th. I haven't decided yet. It's already been submitted for distribution. But yeah, I'm really excited. You'll have to wait to know any more.
Oh no, we're just happy that you've announced it on our station first. So we're happy with that one. But I have to ask, how did that song come about? Like, when did you decide to write this song?
So actually, funny you bring this up. This song was actually pitched to me. The writer's name is Piper Bateman. And she is one of she performs on Broadway all the time. And I think her, and I'm not sure the other girl's name, came in, pitched it to my producer. My producer pitched it to me. And within the first 10 seconds, maybe not even 10 seconds of listening to it, I immediately was like head over heels. And I was like, I love this song. I can relate to it so much. And I really think that's what's important when it does come to releasing music and it does come to writing music, is creating something that not somebody doesn't just simply listen to. They hear it, they relate to it, and it almost can take them back to a place in time of when that emotion, I guess, existed. So that's a great question. But yeah, so the writing, for me, writing, it's all over the place. I get asked, like, what is your writing technique? How do you go about it? And honestly, there isn't a specific technique. For me, it's so scattered in the sense of I could be laying in bed and trying to fall asleep and it'd be 1 a.m. in the morning, and then boom, like right as I'm on the break of like falling asleep, a thought will come into my mind and I write it down. I have like a little notepad right next to my bed. And then I'll take that and I'll bring it to my producer and be like, look, this came to my mind. Does it make sense to you? Like, what are your thoughts about it? Or I can bring it to my husband, or I can bring it to a friend and be like, hey, you want to just sit down with me and like pick each other's brains and see like, you know, or better yet, pick my brain, because I have this thought and I just need that extra push for somebody to kind of pick me apart and help me put it together. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think, and once again, every artist is so different in the way they do things. I wouldn't say there's one specific exact way. Like there's not a definition on how to write. Everyone experiences emotions differently. Everyone experiences different times in their lives differently. So when it comes to writing, it's kind of just a matter of whatever works for you, just do it. Mm. I just rambled on big time. But yeah.
Now, my second part of that question is, have you done a music video for this one yet?
I have not, but hear me out. Typically, once again, every artist has different ways of doing things. My thing is, I would rather release a song, see how it does, and then base whether or not I'm going to release a music video off of that, because we all know music videos aren't exactly the cheapest thing in the world. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, if it's picking up fire and it's doing really well, then we can take into consideration doing a music video. But right out the bat, since I am an independent artist, it doesn't really make sense for me to do that unless it's needed. My number one priority above anything else is putting out music. Mm-hmm. And then if it makes sense, who knows, maybe some content, maybe some music videos, you know, I'll figure it out from there. But number one comes releasing songs, seeing how it does, and then going from there.
Now, do you have any live performances that you've got coming up?
As of right now, I have a few tentative things that I'm not really going to talk about, because I would hate to say, oh yeah, I have this as tentative and it's X, Y, and Z, and then me not do it. But I have, I'll say in the last few months, I had a few different showcases. One of them was Whiskey Jam. If you're familiar with Whiskey Jam, I feel like that's something where as an artist, you have to do it. Like you got to check it off. You got to do it. And then as well as another one called Bus Call, which is another showcase. And a showcase, I'm sure you're familiar with what these are. It's essentially, you have a lineup of anywhere from like 7, 8 different artists, depending on whoever's putting it on. And they go up on stage for 15 to 20 minutes is your stage time. And you just cover all of your different original music. So it gives the audience a good chance to, you know, have exposure to these new artists, kind of get an idea of what they're all about. And you as an artist on stage try to just fit as much in as you possibly can in that 15 to 20 minutes. But yeah, as far as full on shows, like full band, full production, everything, I'm optimistic to think that this summer to the end of the summer, I'm thinking like the end of the summer, that'll kind of start really getting back into the swing of things. I hope. I don't know 100%. I don't think anybody really fully knows, but we're all just crossing our fingers. We're ready for it. And I don't stand alone in saying that. I'm sure I live in a city full of artists that are all ready for it.
Now, I did mention we were going to get back to this question about the city. Obviously, 2020 wasn't a great year for Nashville in general. Obviously, with natural disasters, obviously the pandemic, and obviously what happened on Boxing Day, Christmas Day. For you living there in Nashville, I guess, do you feel that, I guess, music can bring back the whole community back together, and has it started to recover from it?
I mean, I absolutely think so. I think the music community alone, starting with the tornado, I mean, I saw that sucker from my window. It woke me up in the middle of the night, and it was like terrifying because I didn't know what it was initially, because the news, it was never supposed to hit Nashville. By the time I went to bed, the news, which I fell asleep probably around 11 p.m., and the news lady, the forecaster, was saying, oh, it's in Kentucky, never said anything about it coming to Nashville. So I think once that happened, it really was like a reality check. I mean, everybody came together, whether it was food donations or just picking up the city alone. But there's multiple different organizations throughout the city, some of which are new, some of which have been here, that just set up tons of stuff. Like I said, whether it was delivering groceries to people whose homes have been destroyed, or and I'll touch on that in a second, or just picking up the city in general, walking outside your front door and just picking up, whether it's a stick, whether it's a trash bag, whatever it may be. One of the things that I've actually been doing, which I love so much through the pandemic, is Brad Paisley and his wife, Kimberly, opened up a nonprofit grocery store, and it's literally called The Store. And like I said, it's nonprofit, and we really started taking it by the reins as soon as the pandemic started. And what they do is we would deliver groceries to people throughout the city of Nashville. That way they wouldn't have to leave their house to go to the grocery store. That way it would keep people more safe, stay in your house. That way you don't have to leave. And I had been doing that for for about a year. I want to say we started, when did the pandemic officially start? Like March, I want to say, like around March last year. We started doing it then. And I thoroughly enjoy helping in any way I possibly can. And it gives me something to look forward to. And let me tell you, some of those people I deliver groceries to, it's almost like the light of their day. When it's like, okay, so the first time I delivered groceries, I'd show up at people's houses, some of which didn't expect to see me, but some did. And by the second, third, fourth week, these same people, full face of makeup, fully dressed, ready to go. It was like the highlight of their day, and all they wanted to do was talk. So if I can make somebody's day like that, then I'm going to. But yeah, I mean, I think Nashville as a community, we come together so strong and so quickly. And I think there's something to be said about it. And that's why it's the best city in the world, in my opinion. Yes. I may be a little biased because I live here and I love it, but yeah, I hope that answered your question.
Yes, it did. It did. And I completely agree about Nashville being the best city in the world. Tell us, how did you get involved in music? Why did you choose it?
So I've been asked this before too, and my answer always kind of remains the same. There wasn't really ever a given time, a point in time where it was like a light switch went off and I was like, oh, I'm going to do music. That's what I'm going to do. It was a growing love, really, is what it was. I grew up my entire life surrounded by music all the time. My dad was in a band his whole life. I mean, the man owns like 15 banjos. I'm not kidding. So I was always surrounded by, honestly, I was surrounded by a lot of bluegrass music, if you're familiar with that.
Yes.
Which kind of grew, I feel like it's almost a branch of country for sure, depending on if you're into it or not. And I was constantly surrounded by it. And I was one of those things where my love for music just grew and grew and grew and grew the older I got. And it was a quick realization that I just simply couldn't live without it. So that's kind of the transition of everything that happened. I mean, my favorite, and I stand by this when I say it, my favorite place in the world is to be on stage in performing and just engaging with an audience. And whether that's making eye contact with a complete stranger, pretending I'm singing my song to a complete stranger, just creating a new relationship. And you can't top it, especially when somebody's singing with you. So at that point in time, you're not singing to them, you guys are singing together. And I don't know, it's just my love for music, even now, it grows every day. With every new release, with every new fan I create, I mean, it's just an ongoing love. I like to say I'm married, but it's like it's a whole other relationship I got going on, a whole nother love. So yeah.
I think you just answered my next question about what does music mean to you? So I will move on to the next question, which is, do you have any music highlights?
I would say this past year, I went above and beyond, kind of like what I went into earlier, above and beyond of my goals. I'm one of those people where like I have a vision board. I always have my goals written down. I like them in my face at all times. That way it's like a constant reminder. Yeah, so one of them was I hit well over 1 million streams across all musical platforms. I had my song Good Kinda Crazy hit #1 not once but twice on Radio Disney Country. I signed a management deal. I performed at Whiskey Jam, and I did all of that in the first year moving here during a pandemic, so I'm really proud about that. It keeps me super optimistic of what I can do once I'm actually out performing for people, because it's really, really hard to release a song or release music knowing that you're not going to be out performing it, especially when that is honestly one of the biggest bulks of exposure you can get. So yeah, I mean, those are all, there's not one particular highlight, there's a bunch of highlights. And I'm proud of all of them, and I've got way more to accomplish. I'm just getting started.
And do you have any future ambitions in music, long and short term?
Of course, it's like a never ending. Once I hit one goal, I'm like, oh, if I get 100,000 streams on one song, I'm like, oh, that's not good enough. I got to get 200,000. And like, it's just an ongoing, everyone's different. I always like to make my expectations like through the roof. That way it always is giving me something to strive towards. So I guess with that being said, my next goal hopefully would be a record deal, fingers crossed. That would be awesome. And then I guess one before that would be just having a full blown out show and going on tour. That would be ideal. That's what I really want to do. And then hopefully, you know, the record deal will come at some point later down the road. But right now, my main focus is putting out music, creating those fans, establishing relationships, and all the good stuff will come later. If I create a good enough foundation, the good stuff, that'll just come.
Do you have any advice for any of our listeners or viewers out there that should get involved in music?
Never give up. And I feel like I kind of covered this earlier when I was going on one of my tangents. I tend to do that. I think the most important thing, whether it's music you're trying to pursue or you're trying to be an accountant in a large city, regardless of what it is, I think the biggest thing is to step outside your comfort zone. I really do think that is the #1 most important thing that you have to be willing to do. I think you will achieve bigger and badder goals by stepping outside your comfort zone than if you were to play it safe. So, and never, ever, ever, ever give up, because when you think you're not you're not about to make it, or you're not about to accomplish your goals, and then you give up, you never know. You could be 2 seconds away from achieving everything you wanted. And you never know who's actually watching you. You don't think anybody's watching you, but there are people watching you. So never, ever, ever give up is my #1. Obviously, everybody's heard that. And my #2 is be willing to step completely outside your comfort zone and expect to be there for a hot second. And then good things will come.
Now, before we start to finish off with a couple of lighthearted questions, now I have to ask, considering you've moved from Virginia to Tennessee, do you miss Virginia?
I mean, I miss my friends and family, but that's pretty much, oh, okay, well, I miss the beach. So I grew up in like the Hampton Roads area of Virginia, which is like Virginia Beach area. So I really miss the beach, really miss the beach. I'm a big beach girl at heart, and all my friends and family are there. So I miss that. Virginia itself, I mean, I feel like it's really harsh to say no. But in a nice way, no, not really. In fact, if I could go back in time, I wish that I would have moved to Nashville a long time ago. But I think everything played out the way it was supposed to, time-wise. So long story short, no, I don't.
Now, your Australian fans down here are dying to know, when are you coming down here?
You guys know just as much as I do. I'm not 100% sure. I wish I had an answer for you. If it was up to me, I would be down there. I would be packing my bags right now on my way. But fun fact, actually, there's an Australian country artist. His name is Travis Collins. Are you familiar with him?
Yeah.
So his song, Desperado, I actually did the background vocals on. He just released it about maybe 5-6 months ago. So if you listen to that song right at the 2-minute mark, those background voices, that girl singing in the background, that's me. I cut them here right in Nashville.
Wow. I actually have heard the song, and I didn't even know that.
Yeah, so his version, Travis Collins, Desperado, I come in at the 2-minute mark. My producer had worked with him in the past, and he was like, hey, he called me one day. He was like, can you come in the studio really quickly? And I was like, sure, like whatever, no big deal. I was going to come in anyways. And he's like, so he played the song for me. He's like, can you cut BGVs on this, which are background vocals? I was like, yeah, just tell me when. And he's like, starting now. And I just did it. It took about like an hour. And I mean, they're the background vocals where I was like belting it. Like they're good, they're loud. I mean, I was singing it. I left the studio sweating that day from like singing so like much, but yeah, check it out. And as far as coming to Australia, as soon as I know, I will let you know. Hopefully sooner than later. I know you guys do the, what is it? What music festival is it? C2C music festival. So I'm hoping once that picks up and goes kind of back into the normal way of things. I know there's Australia is one of the places. So it would be nice to join that, get on board with that. But I'll post about it. I mean, honestly, once again, as soon as I know, I'm going to be letting everybody know. So yeah, something to look forward to.
Do you have any embarrassing moments on stage?
Yes, actually, what literally just came to my mind was at Whiskey Jam, like, when was it? Like a month and a half, 2 months ago. And this is not the first time I've done this. I have a very strong tendency of eating the mic when I sing. And what I mean by that is I literally I eat the mic. And I think it's because when I was younger, when I would perform on stage, it wasn't that I was scared of my voice, but when you're singing and you're like a younger child and you're singing like into the mic, I think how loud it is can be frightening. So I would always be holding the mic out here. And I remember at every show, my dad or mom would be in the background of the crowd going like this to tell me to hold the mic closer to my mouth. So at Whiskey Jam, well, I went like this in the middle of my song, and I was this close to chipping my entire front tooth because I was eating the mic so hard, and I went to go pull away for a second because I was hitting a high note and I didn't want to blow out people's ears. And when I brought it back in, I think it's because I was so excited to finally be back on stage and performing that I was just like into it, and boom, I hit my tooth. And you're on stage, so you can't freak out on stage. So I just kept singing and rolling like my tongue over my tooth to make sure that it wasn't like chipped. And honestly, even if it did chip, I would have just kept going and nobody would have had a clue. But yeah, that was pretty embarrassing because you could hear like it wasn't like a ding, but like when your tooth, because the mic is like, I don't know what material it's made out of, but when it hit my tooth, it was like a knock. And I just went on and pretended it didn't happen, but I'm pretty sure everybody heard it. So yeah.
And I know that feeling too, because that has happened to me. So I know that exactly what it feels like. Have you ever forgotten a lyric to a song?
Oh, of course. So I don't remember where it was. I know it was in Virginia. I don't remember where I was performing, but it was a cover song I was covering, like a pretty universal. Let's just say it was Friends in Low Places, something where the crowd was singing along with me and I knew it. And all of a sudden, I think when I perform, sometimes I go into my own world and I don't really think that much. I'm just kind of like in my zone and my mind went blank in the middle of the song. So I was just like, I held the mic out to the crowd. I played it off though. I was like, oh, and I held the mic to the crowd, like for them to think that I wanted them to sing along, even though my mind was like blank. And I was like, oh my God, I was freaking out in my mind. I was like, what am I going to do? How long are they going to have to sing it? But yeah, I mean, that always happens. And it's not even a matter of like literally forgetting the lyrics. It's your mind goes, I mean, it's just your mind can just go blank. You get so lost in the song and like, it just is like, oh, by the way, let me turn the switch off really quickly for you. And you're like, crowd. But yeah, so it's not the first time. And I know it's definitely not the last time. It happens to all of us.
Now, when you're performing on stage and introducing yourself to your fans over there, do you actually forget where you're playing at? Like, yes, like, you introduce yourself and, saying hello to like from somewhere.
Oh,
do you actually forget where you're playing at?
No, honestly, because I performed back in Virginia but it was like a lot of the places were repeat places. It wasn't any large, huge venue or a different city per se. So I haven't been in that situation and I hope that I don't, because I feel like a lot of artists go out on stage and they're like, what's up? Like, Virginia Beach or whatever city, like before they perform. And I can't imagine getting up there and being like, oh, what's up, Tampa, Florida, and actually being in like Fort Lauderdale or something. That would be embarrassing. So no, I haven't had that happen. Hopefully that doesn't happen. But honestly, if it did, I don't think it would be the first and last. And I'm sure it happens all the time. But fingers crossed, no.
And we'll finish up with these last two, which is, do you have a pre-performance superstition or ritual?
Not really. I mean, a glass of red wine. There we go. That's what it is. And it's not even people like, it's something about red wine where your vocal cords naturally are pretty stiff like this. And if you can have something just to kind of make them more loosey-goosey, then it's just, I can sing so much better. And it's not even a matter of nerves. It's because I don't get nervous anymore. But it's a nice little, I guess, treatment to your vocal cords. I don't know. I swear by it. I've been doing it for a long time. Just like one glass of wine, it's like a miracle. And then boom, ready to go. And puts a little pep in your step. You're ready to go. So no, as far as like anything past that, I mean, not really. Like my guys here, we always get together and sometimes they'll have a drink before, sometimes they won't. It just depends on the gig and kind of the environment, feeling it out, what you should and shouldn't do kind of thing. But yeah, no, I mean, when I'm with my guys, I mean, we just kind of build each other up and we get each other ready and we're like, all right, let's go. So that's pretty much it. I would say, yeah, my standby is definitely a glass of wine. That's pretty much it.
And we'll finish up with this one last one, which is for everyone here in Australia that should follow your music, that download your music on the music channels, and obviously follow you on social media. How can I go about
it? So I am on all musical platforms. All you have to do is search Tracie with an IE, Lynn, Lynn. It's all one word. So Tracie, IE, Lynn. And I'm on all musical platforms. An easier way, which I typically tell people, is just type it into Google. And if you just type in Tracie Lynn into Google, it'll populate all the different musical platforms. That way you don't have to like click through to whatever specific one you use. And then on all social medias, whether it's TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, my name is Tracie Lynn Music. And once again, that's Tracie with an IE, Lynn, all one word, Tracie Lynn Music. So yeah, check me out, give me a follow. I'm really active on all of my social media, especially with this last year. It's the only way I can really be pushing out my music. So reach out to me, DM me if you have any song requests. I've been doing this cool thing on TikTok which speaking of which, I'm almost at 100,000 followers on TikTok, which is pretty cool. You can put in a song request and I'll do a cover of it. So just let me know. Give me a follow, reach out, put in a song request. Let's be friends.
Well, Tracie, thank you so much for giving up your time to join us. It's awesome having you on the show. Of course, come from my favourite city in the world, other than here in Melbourne, but here in, of course, over there in Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for joining us, and can't wait to hopefully get to meet you in person and hopefully get to catch up when we're over there.
Yeah, thanks so much, Will, and let me know when you guys do make your way over here, and hopefully I'll have a show lined up and you come check it out. You're welcome. Have a good rest of your day and good luck at work.
No worries, and that's Tracie Lynn joining us there from Nashville, Tennessee. Of course, as she mentioned, of course, you can follow her music by going through the music channels and obviously through social media, which we'll put on our social media in the next couple of days or so. There's more on the Smash Evening Show right after this. Don't go away. Here on the 10th year celebration.